even there was one time I was in what they call the Predator Operations Center, which is similar to what they show on in movies and stuff, where there's all these video screens in this command center with all these feeds going on. And there was one time in downtown Baghdad that I watched a dude pull out two little girls from the back of his vehicle, the trunk, and execute them in the middle of the street and drive off. And he did it because he was like, the US can't touch me. Like, no one can touch me. And he did it as a statement. In Afghanistan, I watched a mayor, a village elder who led his village be kidnapped by known members of the Taliban and executed as well. And even these guys, like the guy was executed for not cooperating with them and for cooperating with the enemy, right? We were the enemy to them. And so even when I look at them, like, I feel like that's our fault. We caused this conflict. We caused this strife. We weren't going over there to bring peace. We were going over there to bring a sword, right? And we were doing this in such an unhealthy way. And no matter what I look back at, I don't feel like we were noble. We didn't do it good and right. And in my second shot, when the child ran into the field of view, like I remember my supervisor. So it was called out on screen that a dog, that was a dog that was on the field of view. I asked my pilot.
How did that whole second shot start? Like how did that whole mission or that whole operation specifically begin?
So usually, things when the shots happen, it's not like an immediate thing. Usually there's a buildup. They had been following two high-valued individuals, and they had thought that they were in this farmhouse, and they had been monitoring traffic in and out of this farmhouse. And eventually they thought that, well, the two guys that we're looking for are in there. So we're just going to take the shot. And that decision had been made before I sat in the seat. And so when I had come to sit in the seat, I didn't know about that decision, right? So I had just been, the guy before me had been watching this for 8 hours. The guy before him had been watching it for 8 hours and then launched the aircraft to this mission. And I had just thought, well, I'm just going to be the guy that just watches this mission. I thought that usually they're going to act, when they say that they're going to action a place, they're going to send a group of Rangers in there to capture these dudes and figure out what they're doing. And so when they finally made the decision to shoot, it was more like, well, we don't want to send anyone in there. We're just going to shoot these guys. And while I had been feeling quite loathsome of myself, I thought that, I'm in this position, I might as well follow through. And so it was an L-shaped building, and everything was going down, and it was typical, run the checklists, we estimate that they're probably in this area of the building, point your crosshairs at this corner, turn on the laser, and that was it, right? And I'm sitting there just mindless. And I had a lot of drama going on with my peers. Like, my peers were really dumb and stuck in high school. So like I said before, one of the problems is there's no discipline in the drone program, is because they take a lot of high school kids who still stuck in high school, the drama.
How old were you at the time?
19. Actually, I was 20.
Okay.
I turned 20 in November before that. And my second shot happened either right before or right after Valentine's Day. I kind of get confused, but it was at that point in time. And this girl that I had dated in the squadron, if I were to give any advice to people in the military, never date anyone in your squadron. It just causes a whole bunch of problems. And this girl was causing problems for me. I broke up with her, and she wanted to sleep around, and she was saying really nasty things about me. I tried to apologize to her. I tried to make right with her. My grandfather he's like, just be kind to her. And she just caused more and more drama. And so I was feeling all that as well. And when we're sitting there on this building, and they give us the order to shoot. And again, you know, these people over there, they hear the sonic boom, the missile impact. They know what's going on. So I think that this person the child who ran into the building was told that if you ever hear something like this, run into shelter. Right. And that was probably the closest shelter building that they had. Right. And if it was early in the morning, like most of the shots happened, that person was probably taking care of their animals, because there was a little barn that had a couple of sheep and goats or whatever in it, and maybe a few cows. And this person could have been taking care of doing the early morning chores, and here's this sonic boom go off and run to the building.
So you saw this small person or child run into the building after you pulled the trigger?
Yeah, after we pulled the trigger and about 6 seconds before impact. Like, and it was probably even sooner than that. It just seems like the time goes off, but the sonic boom, whatever it was, hit this area first, and the person ran into the building. I'm not even sure if they got into the building. They were just running into it as the missile struck. And so like I was devastated. When I went to my supervisor, I was like, look, man, this is not right. Like, and he's like, send me an email about it. Just ignore it. Just, go with the official report. And I was, they teach us one of the core values of the Air Force is integrity first, service before self, and excellence in all we do. And in that regard, we failed. There was no integrity in what we were doing. There was no excellence, and there was no service. Service to greed, service to violence is maybe the best I can come up with. And I reviewed the tapes, I reviewed the feed, and everyone basically told me to just shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. We don't want to hear it. And so I did. I bitched a lot while I was in, but that was because I was the best at what I did. I would tell people that we're being wasted, that we're being used, that this is a waste of time. But so what did they do? They just made me work more. They just put me in a GCS and made me do the job more. And it was really devastating to me. It crushed me. With all the drama that was happening behind the scenes, it killed me. It killed who I believed that I could be. It killed the dream that I had for who I wanted. 1 second, I'm going to shut the door.
Okay.
And I keep trying to tell people this, and it's like I'm speaking to deaf ears, right? When I remember when I first got out of the military, I started hanging out. I met a Vietnam veteran who recognized the signs within me, and he's like, you need to go to therapy about this. But I had a top secret clearance at the time, and I knew that going to therapy puts your top secret clearance in jeopardy. Actually, I think I still have my top secret clearance now that I think about it.
How do you still have a top secret clearance?
Because I got it renewed right before I got injured, and it's it renews for 10 years. And it hasn't been 10 years yet. Actually, it'll be 10 years.
And how did you get injured?
I had I have a traumatic brain injury. I had a 170-pound log get dropped on me during a training exercise.
Oh.
Broke my skull in 2 places and compressed my spine and bounced off my shoulder. I tried to catch it, which was probably the worst idea that I could have had, but I thought I was tough. And so, I mean, and that was actually the reason why I blew the whistle was because I was on my deathbed and I was facing the consequences of a tarnished soul. And I wanted to, the whistleblowing was essentially my deathbed confession. If we want to look at the my wrestler background, what is a whistleblower? You know, it's a referee, someone who says, time out, you know, we're doing the wrong thing. And I had a lot of compassion for people in the drone program. Like I knew what they were doing and what they were going through and the sickness that was happening. But after I came out and started speaking, it was like everyone turned on me, you know, in the worst fashion. Like, you know, I have a stalker, you know, now his name's Rick Rynearson. He has this blog who talks, he says all sorts of shit about me. He's in his blog, he calls me he says that I'm part of a death cult who used the powers of the people that the souls of the people I killed to give myself supernatural powers, stuff like that, all sorts of weird shit. And this guy he claims to have come from the program. And they say all sorts of shit. My call sign in the military was church because I was a good church kid, you know, and I'm no longer religious. In fact, I disdain religion above all things. I think that it leads people astray more than it leads people to light. And even in the military, they say that we're doing this for God and country. When I was in the 3rd SOS, they made me go see a chaplain because I couldn't see a therapist due to my clearance. And the chaplain was like, God wants you to feel this way. God wants you to kill these people and it's all right. And like, they were trying to use my own religion against me. When my great grandfather was a minister for his whole life, and my grandfather was the one who raised me. And he would totally have been, you know, I didn't get to confess to him anything before he passed away. But I know for a fact my grandfather would have been like, this isn't the God that I told you about.
It's so crazy to think that the greatest superpower in the world of the United States has 19-year-old high school students flying around shooting hellfire missiles at apartment buildings or into wedding parties.
Weddings, funerals, you name it, we've done it.